The merciless Arizona sun beat down on Anna's back as she struggled to draw water from the well. 3 months without rain had left the land cracked and gasping, much like her own parched spirit. She straightened, pushing back a strand of auburn hair that had escaped her simple braid, and gazed across the desolate landscape that had become her reluctant home. "Mama, look what I found!" 5-year-old Lily came running, her small boots kicking up dust, clutching something in her tiny hands. Her dark curls, so like her father's, bounced with each step. Anna's lips curved into a smile that reached her eyes only when they fell upon her daughter. "What treasure did you discover today, my little explorer?" Lily opened her palms to reveal a small, smooth stone with bands of red and orange running through it. "It looks like the sunset got trapped inside." "It's beautiful, just like you," Anna whispered, crouching to her daughter's level. She tucked the stone into the pocket of Lily's faded dress. "Keep it safe. It might bring us luck." Luck was something they desperately needed. Since James had been killed 2 winters ago, shot during a dispute over water rights, Anna had managed their small homestead alone. A Pennsylvania schoolteacher who had followed her husband west with dreams of building a new life, she now found herself a widow at 26, stubbornly clinging to 30 acres of unforgiving land that most men couldn't tame. Their nearest neighbor was 5 miles away, a distance that might as well have been 100 when trouble came. The town of Copper Springs lay 15 miles beyond that, a collection of wooden buildings where Anna sold her occasional surplus eggs and vegetables, facing the sideways glances of those who believed a woman alone should either remarry or return east. Inside their one-room cabin, Anna stirred the beans that had been slowly cooking since morning. The walls were bare except for James's rifle mounted above the door and a small shelf holding her most precious possessions: 3 books, a porcelain figurine her mother had given her, and James's pocket watch, silent now like its owner. "Tell me about Grandma's house again," Lily requested as she carefully arranged her wooden toys on the floor. Anna smiled, her mind drifting to the cool, green Pennsylvania hills. It had blue shutters and white roses climbing up the porch. In spring, the whole yard smelled sweet as honey. Your grandpa built a swing from an old oak tree. Lily had never seen trees taller than the scrubby ones that clung to life near the creek bed. She had never known rain that lasted for days or grass that grew higher than her ankles. Her world was dust and stone, cactus and vast, cloudless skies. As darkness fell, Anna lit the oil lamp and checked the door's sturdy bar one final time before tucking Lily into the small bed they shared. She sang softly, an old lullaby from her childhood, until Lily's breathing deepened into sleep. Only then did Anna allow her shoulders to slump, the weight of her isolation pressing down. She removed a loose floorboard beneath their bed and counted the meager savings hidden there. Not enough to go back east, barely enough to survive another poor season. A coyote howled in the distance, answered by another. Anna shivered despite the lingering heat. Outside, the desert came alive at night in ways that still unsettled her eastern sensibilities. She checked her husband's revolver, making sure it was loaded before placing it beside her pillow. 3 nights later, Anna jolted awake, her heart pounding. Something had disturbed her sleep, a sound out of place among the familiar night chorus. She lay perfectly still, listening. The muffled sound of a horse snorting. Men's voices, hushed but growing closer. Her blood turned to ice. Slowly, she reached for the revolver and slid from the bed, careful not to wake Lily. Through a crack in the wooden shutters, she glimpsed the silhouettes of 3 men approaching the cabin. Moonlight glinted off something metallic, a gun barrel. "Check the back," a gruff voice ordered. "Woman's alone with a kid. Should be easy pickings." Anna's throat tightened with terror. They were still 20 paces from the door. In the silver moonlight, she could make out their features now. Rough men with unkempt beards and dusty clothes. One wore a tattered cavalry coat. "Lily," she whispered urgently, shaking her daughter. "Lily, wake up. We need to hide." The little girl blinked confusedly as Anna pulled her toward the narrow cellar door hidden beneath a rag rug. They had barely disappeared into the darkness below when the first blow landed against the cabin door. "Open up, ma'am. We're just travelers needin' shelter." The false civility in the man's voice made Anna's skin crawl. She pressed Lily against her chest, one hand covering her daughter's mouth to stifle any sound. The revolver felt impossibly heavy in her other hand. The pounding grew more insistent. Wood splintered as something heavy was rammed against the door. Anna closed her eyes, calculating desperately. 6 bullets. 3 men. If they broke through, she would need to make every shot count. Then, cutting through the night, came a sound that stopped everything, a high, piercing war cry that raised the hair on Anna's arms. It was followed by the thud of something striking flesh and a man's scream of pain. Chaos erupted outside. Gunshots, shouts of confusion, the sound of horses whinnying in panic. Then, most terrifying of all, silence. Anna waited, heart hammering, counting the seconds that stretched into minutes. Finally, a soft knock came at the door. Different from the pounding before. 3 gentle taps. "Stay here," she whispered to Lily, pressing a kiss to her forehead before climbing the ladder. With the revolver raised, Anna approached the door. "Who's there?" "They gone." The voice was deep, the English halting but clear. "No danger now." Anna hesitated, then called out, "How do I know you're alone?" A pause. "Look through window." Cautiously, Anna peered through the crack in the shutters. A single figure stood in the moonlight, hands empty and visible at his sides. Behind him, she could make out the shapes of 2 bodies on the ground. She unbarred the door with trembling hands and opened it just enough to see clearly. The man before her stood tall and still, his black hair falling in a straight curtain to his shoulders. His face was angular, with high cheekbones and eyes so dark they seemed to absorb the moonlight rather than reflect it. He wore buckskin leggings and a cotton shirt that had once been white, now stained with what looked like blood. You killed them," Anna whispered, the revolver still trained on him. He shook his head. "1 dead, 2 run." He gestured toward the horizon. "Bad men. Watch you many days. Plan to hurt." Anna's mind reeled with the implications. This stranger had been watching her too, watching and waiting until she needed protection. "Why did you help us?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. He considered her question for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke a single word that contained volumes. "Honor." The man turned to go, but Anna called out, "Wait! You're hurt." Blood was seeping through his shirt along his left side. He glanced down as if noticing the wound for the first time. "Small cut. No matter." "Let me help you," Anna said, surprising herself. "Please. It's the least I can do." The man studied her face, seeming to search for something in her expression. Whatever he found must have satisfied him, because he gave a slight nod. "Mama?" Lily's small voice came from inside as she emerged from the cellar. "Are the bad men gone?" Anna kept her body between her daughter and the scene outside. "Yes, sweetheart. We're safe now." She turned back to the stranger. "What's your name?" "Nakohe," he replied, then added, "In your tongue." "Bear." "I'm Anna," she said, lowering the revolver at last. "And this is my daughter, Lily." Something flickered in his eyes, a shadow of recognition, perhaps, or memory. He inclined his head in acknowledgement, and Anna felt the first tentative thread of connection stretch between them, fragile as a spider's silk, but surprisingly strong. Behind him, the dead man lay as a stark reminder of how close they had come to tragedy. Tomorrow would bring questions, explanations to the sheriff 15 miles away, and new fears. But tonight, in the silver desert moonlight, Anna made a choice that would alter the course of 3 lives forever. "Come inside," she said, stepping back from the doorway. "Let me tend to your wound." Dawn broke over the Arizona desert, painting the sky in hues of amber and gold. The night's violence lingered like a shadow over the small homestead. Anna had kept vigil through the remaining hours of darkness, seated in the rocking chair by the window, her husband's revolver within reach, watching over both her sleeping daughter and the mysterious stranger who had saved their lives. Nakoe sat with his back against the wall, his dark eyes occasionally meeting hers across the room. He had accepted her tending of his wound, a deep knife slash along his ribs, with stoic silence, neither flinching when she cleaned it with whiskey, nor acknowledging her careful stitches. Now, as first light filtered through the shutters, Anna studied him openly. His face was weathered by sun and wind, marked with small scars that told of a life of struggle. She guessed him to be in his early 30s, though something in his eyes spoke of experiences that aged a soul beyond years. In the growing light, she could see details she had missed in the darkness, a beaded leather band around his wrist, the intricate pattern shaved into one side of his hair, the straight line of his nose that suggested pride rather than arrogance. "The sheriff will need to know what happened," Anna said quietly, not wanting to wake Lily. "We should ride to town today." Nakohe's expression remained impassive. "Sheriff not believe Apache. Better I go." "No," Anna replied with unexpected firmness. "You saved our lives. I won't let them blame you for defending us." A hint of surprise crossed his features. "White woman speak for Apache?" "This white woman speaks for anyone who risks their life to protect her child," Anna answered, chin lifting slightly. Their gazes held, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Finally, Nakohe gave a slight nod. Anna set about making breakfast, her movements betraying her exhaustion. As she worked, she felt his eyes following her. "Why woman alone?" he asked suddenly. "No husband?" The blunt question made Anna pause. "My husband died 2 winters ago. Shot over water rights." She kept her voice neutral, though the pain remained fresh. Nakohe absorbed this information silently. After a moment he said, "Land hard without man. Why stay?" Anna glanced at Lily's sleeping form before answering. "This land was my husband's dream. We came from Pennsylvania with nothing but hope. She kneaded the cornmeal dough with more force than necessary. If I leave, his death means nothing. If I stay, at least his daughter might someday have what he worked for." "Land take more than give," Nakohe observed, his voice low and resonant. "My people know this." Before Anna could respond, Lily stirred and sat up, rubbing her eyes. The little girl stared at their visitor with unabashed curiosity. "Your hair is prettier than Mama's," she announced with childlike directness. A ghost of a smile touched Nakohe's lips, the first Anna had seen. "Hair good for riding fast. Wind not catch." Lily giggled, immediately enchanted. "Can you ride as fast as the wind?" "Faster," he replied with unexpected gentleness. "Wind always behind." After breakfast, Anna hitched their mule to the wagon, planning to drive to town to report the attack. She was surprised when Nakohe silently helped, his movements efficient despite his injury. "You know animals," she observed as he calmed the nervous mule with a few soft words in his native tongue. "Was horse trainer for my people," he replied. "Before soldiers came." There was a wealth of pain in those few words. Anna didn't press, but later, as they drove toward Copper Springs with the dead attacker's body wrapped in canvas in the wagon bed, Nakohe spoke again. "4 summers ago, soldiers burned my village. Take women, children to reservation." His voice remained steady, but his hands tightened on his knees. "I was hunting. Returned to ashes and tracks." "Your family?" Anna asked softly. "Wife. Son." His jaw tightened. "Never found bodies. Maybe alive on reservation. Maybe not." Anna felt the weight of his loss, so similar to her own yet magnified by the brutality of the circumstances. "I'm sorry," she said, knowing the inadequacy of the words. He acknowledged her sympathy with a slight incline of his head. "Now I live between worlds. Apache call me ghost. White men call me renegade." They rode in silence after that, each absorbed in private thoughts until the scattered buildings of Copper Springs appeared on the horizon. Lily had fallen asleep between them, her small head occasionally bumping against Nakohe's arm as the wagon jostled. "You should leave before we reach town," Anna said reluctantly. "The sheriff is fair, but others—" Nakohe shook his head. "I stay. Truth important." Anna was moved by his courage but worried for his safety. The townsfolk were suspicious of Indians at best, openly hostile at worst. Her concerns proved justified. As they drove down the main street, people stopped to stare. By the time they reached the sheriff's office, a small crowd had gathered, murmuring darkly at the sight of an Apache sitting beside a white woman. Sheriff Clayton emerged, his weathered face registering surprise. "Mrs. Harmon," he greeted Anna, then eyed Nakohe warily. "What's going on here?" Anna explained the night's events as concisely as possible, aware of the growing crowd. When she reached the part about Nakohe saving them, she spoke louder, ensuring everyone heard. "Convenient story," a voice called from the crowd. "How do we know this Apache didn't kill that fella himself?" "Could be partners." "That's Walsh," another man said, pointing to the dead attacker. "He's been drinking at the saloon for days, said he was waiting for his brothers to arrive. And they tried to break into my home in the middle of the night." Anna countered firmly. This man saved my daughter's life and mine. I won't hear him slandered. Sheriff Clayton held up his hands for silence. Let's sort this out proper. He turned to Nakohe. You got a name, Indian? He is called Bear, Anna answered when Nakohe remained silent. The sheriff's deputy had been examining the body. Walsh has an arrow in his back, Sheriff, and his throat's been cut. A ripple of unease went through the crowd. Apache methods of killing were feared throughout the territory. He was armed and attacking my home, Anna insisted. What would any of you have done differently to protect your families? Sheriff Clayton studied her face, then Nakohe's impassive expression. Where are the other two men? Ran east, Nakohe said simply. Wounded one in leg. The sheriff deliberated, then nodded slowly. Self-defense seems clear enough, but Walsh's brothers will come looking when they find out. They're a bad lot, worse than he was. Then I'll be ready, Anna said with more confidence than she felt. Mrs. Harmon, the sheriff said quietly. A woman alone with a child. Maybe it's time to consider selling that place. These parts are getting more dangerous, not less. Anna lifted her chin. That land is my daughter's inheritance, Sheriff. I won't be frightened away from it. Clayton sighed, recognizing the futility of arguing. At least take someone back with you. I'd send one of my deputies, but with the cattle drive coming through, I return with her, Nakohe stated, his tone making it clear this wasn't a suggestion. The crowd murmured again, and the sheriff looked troubled. Mrs. Harmon, that might cause more problems than it solves. My choice, Anna replied firmly. He saved our lives once already. On the return journey, they rode mostly in silence. The encounter in town had left Anna drained, but determined. Lily had awakened, and now peppered Nakohe with questions about horses, which he answered with surprising patience. As they approached the cabin in the late afternoon, Anna noticed Nakohe studying the land with a critical eye. Water scarce, he observed, nodding toward her struggling garden. Wrong plants for dry ground. I grow what I know, Anna admitted. Eastern plants. Nakohe shook his head. Land speaks. Must listen. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Anna found Nakohe outside, examining the irrigation trenches James had dug. My husband believed there was enough water, she explained, if we could just control it properly. Nakohe traced a line in the dirt with his finger. Water flows like life, cannot force, only guide. He pointed to a formation of rocks to the north. Spring there underground. Small but constant. Anna stared at him in disbelief. How can you know that? Plants tell. Birds tell. He gestured to a cluster of greener vegetation. Earth tells, if ears open. The next day, Nakohe led Anna to the spot and began digging. By mid-afternoon, water seeped into the shallow pit, cool and clear. James spent 2 years searching for more water, Anna said, voice tight with emotion. He died believing it was here somewhere. Husband correct, Nakohe replied simply. Now daughter has water. Over the following days, a cautious routine developed. Nakohe slept outside the cabin, appearing at dawn to help with chores before disappearing for hours, returning with rabbit or quail for their evening meal. He showed Anna how to plant desert squash and beans that required less water, and how to preserve what they harvested. Lily bloomed under his quiet attention, trailing after him like a shadow when he worked around the homestead. To Anna's surprise, he displayed infinite patience with the child, teaching her to identify animal tracks and which plants were safe to touch. One evening, as they sat outside watching the spectacular sunset paint the desert in impossible colors, Lily asked innocently, Bear, do you miss your little boy? Anna started to chide her daughter for the personal question, but Nakohe answered with unexpected openness. Every breath, he said softly. He was called Tarek. Strong name for small boy. A rare smile touched his lips. Always asking why, like you. How old was he? Anna asked gently. 4 winters when soldiers came. His expression remained calm, but pain shadowed his eyes. Would be 9 now, if alive. Do you look for him? Lily persisted. Every day, Nakohe replied. Every reservation, every trading post. Listen for stories of boy who walks between worlds. That night, after Lily was asleep, Anna found herself unable to rest. She stepped outside to find Nakohe sitting motionless, gazing at the stars. His silhouette was strong against the night sky, a solitary figure shaped by both suffering and resilience. "The desert nights still unsettle me," she admitted, wrapping her shawl tighter around her shoulders. "Too vast, too silent." "Not silent," he corrected. "Full of voices. Different language." Anna listened and gradually became aware of the subtle symphony of the night, the distant yip of coyotes, the rustle of small creatures in the brush, the whisper of wind through juniper. "I've been here 3 years," she said, "but I've never truly heard it until now." Nakohe nodded. "Takes time to learn new language. For ears, for heart." Something in his tone made Anna look at him more closely. In the moonlight, his profile was strong, defined by suffering yet unbroken. She realized with a jolt of surprise that she had begun to find his presence not merely reassuring, but necessary, like water to the parched land around them. As they sat in companionable silence beneath the vast Arizona sky, Anna sensed a bond forming between them. Two souls scarred by loss, yet somehow finding in each other the possibility of healing. In saving her from Walsh's attack, Nakohe had broken through the protective walls she had built around her heart since James's death. And perhaps, in her acceptance of him, she was offering something he had lost as well, a place to belong, if only for a while. The air between them hummed with unspoken possibilities as the desert night enfolded them in its ancient, starlit embrace. Summer yielded to autumn in the Arizona desert, the change marked not by falling leaves, but by subtle shifts in light and temperature. The mornings carried a crisp edge that softened by midday, and the sunsets burned with a fiercer intensity, as if compensating for the shorter days. 2 months had passed since the night Nakohe had saved Anna and Lily from Walsh's attack, 2 months of cautious adaptation as 3 disparate lives gradually intertwined. The hidden spring Nakohe had discovered now flowed into a carefully constructed basin, bringing life to a garden filled with native plants that thrived where Anna's eastern vegetables had withered. The cabin, once stark and utilitarian, bore subtle touches of both cultures. A woven Apache basket holding Lily's wooden toys, a wall hanging made from desert plants dyed in vibrant colors, James's rifle still mounted above the door, but now flanked by a ceremonial bow Nakohe had crafted. Each evening, after Lily was asleep, Anna and Nakohe would sit outside beneath the vast canopy of stars, their conversations growing from halting exchanges to deeper explorations of their separate worlds. Tonight, the autumn air carried a hint of wood smoke as they worked together, Anna mending a torn shirt while Nakohe's skilled hands fashioned a small animal figure from a piece of juniper wood. "In my tribe," he explained, his English improving through daily practice, "children belong to mother's clan, not father's. Woman holds family strength." Anna's fingers stilled on her needle. "That's very different from our ways. When James died, his brother tried to claim our land, arguing a woman couldn't manage it alone." Nakohe's hands paused briefly before resuming their careful carving. "Brother wrong," he said simply. "You manage. You survive." His matter-of-fact acknowledgement of her strength touched Anna deeply. James had loved her, but had often sheltered her, treating her as something delicate. Nakohe saw her resilience first, her vulnerability second. "What was your wife like?" Anna asked, the question slipping out before she could reconsider. Nakohe's hand stilled momentarily. "Ayana was like morning sun, bright laugh, quick anger that passed like summer storm." A rare smile touched his lips. "Best horseman in tribe, better than men, many jealous I win her heart." "She sounds remarkable," Anna said softly, ignoring the unexpected twinge in her chest. "Different from you," Nakohe observed, his dark eyes studying her face. "You like deep river, still surface, strong current beneath." The comparison made Anna blush. "I wasn't always so contained. Before James died, I laughed more easily." "Grief changes river's course," he replied. "Not stop flow." Their eyes held for a moment longer than necessary before Anna looked away, suddenly conscious of how comfortable his presence had become and how essential. The following day brought their first true test. Anna was hanging laundry when she spotted riders approaching, 3 men, moving with purpose. Her heart seized with fear as she called for Nakohe, who appeared instantly from the corral where he'd been mending fences. "Inside," he directed tersely, positioning himself between Anna and the approaching riders. Anna hurried Lily into the cabin, but returned to stand beside Nakohe, her husband's rifle in her hands. "I won't hide," she said quietly. He gave her a look of mixed exasperation and respect. "Stay behind. Let me speak first." The riders approached slowly, deliberately. Anna recognized the lead man as Sheriff Clayton, but the other two were strangers, hard-faced men with the weathered look of those who lived rough. "Mrs. Harmon," the sheriff called, raising his hand in greeting. "Don't be alarmed. We're here on official business." The group stopped a respectful distance from the cabin. Clayton nodded to Nakohe, then introduced his companions. "These men are U.S. Marshals, Pearson and Delgado. They're tracking a group of Apache who attacked a stagecoach near Tucson last week." Anna felt Nakohe tense beside her, though his expression remained impassive. "What does that have to do with us?" she asked, keeping her voice steady. Marshal Pearson, a lean man with cold eyes, spoke up. "We have reports of an Apache living at this homestead. Given the proximity to the attack, we need to ask some questions." "He's been here for months," Anna replied firmly. "Working my land." "He wasn't anywhere near Tucson." Pearson's gaze shifted to Nakohe. "Got papers saying you can be off reservation land, Indian?" "He doesn't need papers," Anna interjected. "He's employed by me." "Ma'am, with all due respect, that's not how it works," Delgado said, his tone gentler than his partner's. "Any Indian off reservation land needs proper authorization." Sheriff Clayton looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Harmon, I know he helped you with those Walsh brothers. But there are laws. Laws that say a person can be imprisoned simply for existing in the wrong place?" Anna challenged, her voice rising. "He saved my life and my daughter's. He's worked this land honestly. What more authorization should he need?" The tension crackled between them until Nakohe spoke, his deep voice cutting through the confrontation. 4 days ago, Apache band crossed North Ridge." He pointed toward the distant mountains. 8 riders, heading west. "Not south to Tucson." The marshals exchanged glances. "How do you know this?" Pearson demanded. "Tracks, signs." Nakohe shrugged slightly. "They leave message on rocks for other Apache. Say soldiers follow close." Delgado studied him with narrowed eyes. "What band?" "White Mountain. Not my people." Nakohe met the marshal's gaze steadily. "Can show tracks. Save you 3 days searching wrong direction." A long silence followed as the marshals assessed the offer. Finally, Delgado nodded. "Show us." Anna watched anxiously as Nakohe mounted his horse and led the men toward the ridge. Sheriff Clayton remained behind, dismounting slowly. "Mrs. Harmon, what exactly is going on here?" he asked once the others were out of earshot. "I told you, he works for me," Anna replied defensively. Clayton sighed. "This territory's changing. New laws, more soldiers. It's getting more dangerous for arrangements like yours." "There's no arrangement," Anna insisted, though her cheeks warmed. "He's a good man who needed work. I needed help. It's that simple." The sheriff studied her face. "Nothing's ever that simple between white and Indian, Mrs. Harmon. Especially not with a widow alone." His expression softened. "I don't judge you. God knows life out here is hard enough without denying comfort where you find it. But others won't see it so charitably." "There's nothing improper happening here," Anna said stiffly, though the words felt hollow even to her own ears. Nothing physical had happened, true, but she couldn't deny the growing connection between them, a bond that transcended mere friendship or gratitude. When Nakohe returned with the marshals hours later, a subtle shift had occurred. The men treated him with grudging respect, having verified his information about the tracks. "Seems your worker was right," Pearson told Anna. "Signs point to the band heading west, not south toward Tucson." After the officials departed, Anna felt the tension drain from her body, leaving her trembling slightly. Nakohe watched her with concern. "You risk much," he said quietly, "speaking against lawmen for Apache." "I spoke the truth," Anna replied. "You've done nothing wrong." Nakohe's dark eyes held hers. "Truth not always matter between our peoples." That night, Anna's sleep was troubled by dreams of men on horseback surrounding the cabin, of Nakohe being dragged away in chains while Lily screamed. She woke with a gasp to find early morning light filtering through the shutters. Outside, she found Nakohe already awake, kneeling beside the small spring, which now flowed into a carefully constructed basin. The sight of him, solid, present, real, calmed her racing heart. "You should leave," she said abruptly, the fear from her dream still clinging to her. "It's not safe for you here." He continued his work without looking up. Not safe anywhere for Apache. They could come back, the army, or more marshals. Anna wrapped her arms around herself against the morning chill. "I couldn't bear it if they took you away." The simple admission hung in the air between them. Nakohe slowly stood and faced her, his expression softened by something Anna had never seen before, a vulnerability that matched her own. "Why?" he asked, the single word laden with meaning. Anna swallowed hard. "Because Lily needs you," she began, then stopped herself. Honesty demanded more. "Because I need you. These months you've been here. I've felt alive again." Nakohe stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body in the cool morning air. "Before attack," he said softly, "watched you many days, saw a woman fighting alone, proud, strong." His hand rose hesitantly, hovering near her cheek without touching. "Wanted to help, then wanted more." Anna's breath caught in her throat. "What did you want?" "To belong again," he answered simply. "To someone, somewhere." The raw honesty of his confession broke something open inside her, the careful wall she had built around her heart since James's death. Without thinking, she closed the distance between them, leaning her forehead against his chest. His arms came around her hesitantly, then with growing certainty. They stood that way for long moments, the embrace communicating what words could not. Shared grief, unexpected connection, and the fragile hope that had taken root between them. "Bear!" Lily's voice shattered the moment as she came running from the cabin. "You promised to show me how to make a whistle today." Anna stepped back, flustered, but Nakohe's steady gaze held hers for one more moment, an unspoken promise passing between them before he turned to lift Lily in his strong arms. "Sun too low still," he told the child. "First breakfast, then whistle." As Anna watched them together, her daughter chattering happily, Nakohe listening with solemn attention, she felt a shifting within her soul, like desert sand rearranging after a storm. What had begun as an alliance of necessity had grown into something far more profound, a bond that defied the boundaries between their worlds. The first winter rain came as a whispered blessing, gentle droplets kissing the parched Arizona earth. Anna stood in the doorway of the cabin, watching as Lily danced with outstretched arms in the light shower, her delighted laughter a melody that had become more frequent in recent months. Nearby, Nakohe tilted his face skyward, eyes closed in silent communion with the elements that had shaped his people for generations. "Is this the rain you promised?" Anna asked softly, as he joined her beneath the shelter of the porch. "The one that meant you would leave?" Water beaded in his dark hair, trailing down the weathered contours of his face. "This rain brings life," he replied, his eyes meeting hers with quiet intensity. "Not endings." The words warmed Anna from within, despite the chill in the air. In the weeks since their embrace by the spring, their connection had deepened through small, meaningful gestures. His hand at the small of her back as they worked together, her fingers lingering on his arm as she passed him tools, shared glances over Lily's head that contained conversations only they understood. The rain continued intermittently for days, transforming the desert. Dormant seeds awakened, painting the usually barren land with delicate wildflowers. The creek that had been nothing more than a dry bed for months ran swift and clear. Their carefully tended garden flourished under Nakohe's knowledgeable care. The land was only sleeping, Anna marveled, as they walked along the ridge above the homestead one evening after the rain. "Not dead at all, like your heart," Nakohe observed quietly. Waiting for right season, Anna turned to him, struck by the truth in his words. They stood together on the rain-soaked earth, and something shifted between them, a final barrier dissolving like salt in water. When Nakohe reached for her this time, there was no hesitation. His hand cradled her cheek with infinite tenderness, and Anna leaned into his touch, her eyes closing briefly before meeting his gaze again. "I never thought to find this again," she whispered. "Someone who sees me truly." "Two broken spirits," he murmured, echoing his words from weeks before. Make one whole. Their first kiss was gentle, a tentative exploration that quickly deepened into something more profound. Anna felt as though the ground beneath her feet had shifted, realigning her world around this unexpected connection. The idyll lasted through the rainy season. For those precious weeks, they existed in a world of their own making, where the boundaries between their cultures seemed less insurmountable. Nakohe moved into the cabin, teaching Lily Apache words and stories while Anna recorded them carefully in a journal, determined that her daughter would know both sides of her new family's heritage. But reality could not be held at bay forever. The first warning came on a crisp February morning when Nakohe returned from hunting with a troubled expression. "Army Scouts," he said without preamble. "Moving through valley." Anna's heart sank. "Looking for you?" "Not specifically." He set down his game bag. "But dangerous still. Talk in town of new reservation boundaries, stricter enforcement." The specter of separation, always present at the edges of their happiness, loomed larger. That night, Anna held him tighter, as if her embrace alone could protect him from the forces gathering against them. "We could leave," she suggested, tracing the contours of his face in the darkness. "Go north, or to Mexico." Nakohe kissed her palm. "Running brings its own dangers, no guarantees." Before he could elaborate, a sound outside froze them both. The distant but unmistakable rhythm of approaching hoofbeats. Many horses moving fast. "Riders," Nakohe said tersely, already rising. "Middle of night, not friends." Anna's blood ran cold as she quickly pulled on her clothes. "Lily," she whispered, moving toward her daughter's bed. "Wake her," Nakohe directed, loading James's rifle with swift, practiced movements. "Then both hide in cellar." "What about you?" Anna asked, though she already knew the answer. His eyes met hers in the dim lamplight. "We'll lead them away. Meet you at Medicine Rocks when safe." "No!" Anna protested, grabbing his arm. "We stay together." The hoofbeats grew louder, close enough now to be accompanied by men's voices. Nakohe cupped her face between his hands. "Trust me," he said urgently. "Protect Lily. I return when safe." The promise in his eyes gave Anna strength she didn't know she possessed. She nodded once, then turned to wake her daughter. "Mama?" Lily murmured sleepily. "What's happening?" "We need to play a hiding game," Anna whispered, forcing calm into her voice. "Very quiet, like mice." As she lifted Lily toward the cellar door, Nakohe caught Anna's free hand, pressing something into her palm. A small carved bear, the project he had been working on in secret. "Courage," he said simply, then added something in Apache, words she didn't understand but felt in her soul. Then he was gone, slipping out the back window while Anna and Lily descended into the darkness of the cellar. She barely had time to close the trap door before the cabin door splintered open above them. Heavy boots stomped across the floorboards. Gruff voices called to each other, overturning furniture, searching. "Where's the Apache, Mrs. Harmon?" a voice demanded. "We know he's been living here." Anna recognized the voice with a chill. Frank Walsh, brother of the man Nakohe had killed months ago. "Check outside," another man ordered. "He can't have gone far." Through a crack in the cellar door, Anna could see lantern light moving around the cabin. She held Lily close, one hand over her daughter's mouth to stifle any sound. "Burn it," Walsh's voice commanded after several tense minutes. "Burn it all." She made her choice when she took up with that savage. Anna's heart pounded as the acrid smell of smoke began to filter through the floorboards. The heat intensified as the flames spread, making it clear they couldn't stay hidden. They would suffocate or burn if they remained in the cellar. "We have to run," she whispered to Lily. "When I open the door, stay right beside me. We'll go straight for the creek." Anna counted silently to 3, then pushed open the cellar door. Smoke immediately engulfed them, stinging their eyes and burning their lungs. She lifted Lily into her arms and ran blindly toward where she knew the door should be. They burst into the night air, gulping it gratefully even as Anna's eyes darted frantically for signs of Walsh and his men. The cabin was fully ablaze now, illuminating the yard in hellish orange light. Anna crouched low, motioning for Lily to do the same. They had nearly reached the shadowy line of trees that marked the creek bed when a shout went up. "There they are! Get them!" Anna pushed Lily ahead of her. "Run, baby, don't stop!" A rifle shot cracked through the night, kicking up dirt near Anna's feet. She had just begun to despair when a war cry split the darkness, primal, furious, terrifying. Nakohe emerged from the shadows like a creature of myth, charging through Walsh's men with calculated fury. The chaos gave Anna and Lily the chance to reach the relative safety of a large boulder by the creek. Through the mayhem of gunfire and shouts, Anna saw Nakohe locked in combat with Walsh himself. Despite a bleeding wound to his shoulder, Nakohe fought with the controlled precision of a warrior, each movement deliberate and effective. When Walsh drew a hidden pistol, Anna didn't think. She acted. Snatching up a rock from the creek bed, she hurled it with all her strength, striking Walsh's arm just as he fired. The distraction was enough. Nakohe seized the moment, rendering Walsh unconscious rather than killing him, a choice Anna understood was made for her sake, not Walsh's. Minutes later, with the remaining attackers fled and the cabin reduced to a blazing skeleton, Nakohe gathered Anna and Lily into his arms despite his injury. "You came back," Anna whispered, reaching to examine his wound. "Always come back," he replied, his voice a low rumble against her ear. "My heart, my family." They stood together as their home burned, 3 souls united against a world determined to separate them. "We can't stay here," Anna said finally. "They'll return with more men." Nakohe nodded grimly. "Must leave tonight. North, to mountains." "Where eagles make their nests?" Lily asked, recalling his stories. "Yes, little one," he answered, his eyes gentle despite the violence they had just endured. "Where we make new home." As dawn broke over the desert, the 3 figures moved northward. A small family forged in fire, bound by love that transcended the arbitrary boundaries of race and history. Behind them, smoke rose from the ashes of what had been, while before them stretched an uncertain future. But Anna felt a peace she had not known since arriving in this unforgiving land. The desert had taught her its harshest lessons, that life was fragile, that survival required adaptation, that beauty could emerge from the most barren places. But Nakohe had taught her the most important lesson of all, that a heart once broken could heal stronger than before. In the distance, storm clouds gathered over the mountains, promising rain, not an ending, but renewal, a chance to begin again. Thank you for staying with us until the end. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and share it with someone who loves emotional tales. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for supporting us. Your support keeps us motivated to keep telling more stories filled with love, redemption, and unexpected twists. At the end of this video, you'll see a new story suggestion from our channel. Click it and let yourself be surprised by another heart-touching journey just like this one.